Welcome to the Orange Hammer Podcast. My name is Corbett Storick. I've been a licensed general contractor for 8+ years, specializing in new construction, renovation, furniture building. I'm the son of an architect and an interior designer, and I've been surrounded in this industry since birth, watching all aspects from concept, design, build, punch list, and of course, all the problems that come up in between. In my time in Durham, North Carolina, I've noticed a significant gap in knowledge between homeowners who need work and the people who do the work. On this podcast, I hope to break down the process of homeownership from the perspective of both the homeowner and the contractor in an effort to help raise the knowledge of homeowners about their homes and the construction/renovation process. I hope you enjoy. If you're enjoying the Orange Hammer Podcast, or if you have a topic that you want covered, or have recently done a project, please contact the Orange Hammer Podcast. The Orange Hammer Podcast is on Instagram and Facebook. Please like and subscribe, share on whatever platform you're enjoying your podcast on. Also, check out our YouTube channel, The Orange Hammer. The Orange Hammer Podcast is proud to be brought to you by CRS Contracting LLC for all your construction and handyman needs, new buildings to renovations, furniture building, EV charger install, or even a TV mounted. You can call me, Corbett Storick. It'd be my pleasure to help you. You can find me on Instagram at CRS Contracting. WSDG, the Walter Storick Design Group, specialists in architectural and acoustical consulting. Check out WSDG.com. And Taylor Bragg, for all your artistic needs in all mediums. You can find her on Instagram at brag_about_art. That's brag, BRGG, with 2 G's. She's the fantastic artist behind the Orange Hammer logo, and she did my fantastic table painting of my podcasting table. The Orange Hammer Podcast is proud to be brought to you by Stacy Sloan with Keller Williams Elite Realty, proudly serving the Durham and Triangle area for 25 years. Call Stacy at 919-972-1180. The Orange Hammer Podcast is proud to be brought to you by Rachel Z with Rachel Z Real Estate Team Realty. From the Triangle to the Triad, call Rachel Z at 919-323-6068. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Orange Hammer Podcast with TH Electrical Services. We've got Carl Harper in the house. Carl, how are you doing this morning?
Doing well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I appreciate you coming by. I know we barely know each other. We met 5 seconds ago at a B&I guest meeting, but Brandon had nothing but the best things to say about you, and I was like, that's pretty much all I need, so here we are. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Thanks. Appreciate him recommending me.
Yeah, there's just something about his vibe that is very cool. He seems to be like a heart on his sleeve. This is just who I am, right, raw, like there's no hidden agenda, and obviously, him being like a trainer and a nutritionist had a specific bond for me because I'm trying to like get my life in order in that regard. So he's helping me with that. And it just, I'm not even a B&I fan, but y'all's had a particularly good vibe. Unfortunately, you already have a GC, so I'm not going to join.
Yeah, well, I know they have like a couple different type of insurance.
Yeah.
So maybe there's a way to fit in. And this is my first B&I. I was involved with another group similar to that, but these guys seem to be genuinely friends, trying to help each contractor, have processes in place to kind of help everybody grow. So it seemed to be very interesting.
What was the group you were in before B&I?
So it was a guy that was in a B&I, and it was called Network. What was it called? So it was a network group also. Triangle Services Network or something like that is what he named it. And it was kind of based from a BNI where you come in, you try to get people to come in every week, try to refer, if there's any work that someone might need, you refer people to the members of the group because you know them, you see them all the time, and that kind of thing. So it was very similar, but this seemed to be a little bit more organized, have more members, and I guess because it's a network of international, they have a lot of systems in place that you just have to follow, and and that helps your business grow.
Yeah. Do you find it to be a struggle to go every week, though? See the same people, hear the same spiels, say the same one yourself, for that matter? Does that ever become a struggle?
So that's always a thought, and I look at it a little differently. It's an opportunity to make it better. So you don't want to say the same things every time. So I try to do similar to what you're doing, come up with a subject, like I did one on smoke detectors. Seem very simple, but you have, smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors. There's a lot more that people don't really think of. So if you just kind of talk about a subject like that, and you got to do a little research so you seem knowledgeable. And if you do that, something like that every week, it makes it more interesting. It kind of tell them a little bit more about what you're trying to get across and what you've done, and maybe even make you look like you know what you're doing, which is more important.
Yeah,
so they
don't
can
tell
recommend.
anybody, but you're a professional.
Yes. Yeah, so it's more of a challenge to me to come up with something different and new versus just come every week and say the same old thing, listen to the same old thing. So it's really up to you to make it interesting and give more information. And the more you put into it, of course, the more you get out of it, like anything else.
You're the first person that I've heard say it like that. And when I hear you say it in that particular way, it makes so much more sense as an opportunity to be like, yeah, I am the same electrician you saw 4 straight weeks in a row. But last week I talked about panels. The week before I talked about smoke detectors. The week before I talked about outlet maintenance. The week before I talked about this. And it's like, yeah, I'm still your electrician, but here's a 90 seconds about something very particular. And we all have to deal with this stuff, whether we're thinking about it or not. Like, we all have smoke detectors in our home or even our apartments, and they beep every 8 months when you forget to change the battery or whatever. And then eventually they do die, and you just have to replace them. I got to replace one right there. It's missing.
I shared the stats about that for like homes that don't have it, and how many fires there is and how many lives lost. And people don't really think about it. At my smoke detector, it don't work. I'll get to it next week, next month. And if you look across the country, a lot of people die because that smoke detector wasn't working.
Yeah.
So if you look at some things that way, it makes it a little bit more important. And it's something that's fairly simple that anybody can do. It's not, you don't have to tear up the house. You can have a plug-in one.
Yeah.
The other thing was carbon monoxide detector. Nobody think about it. That give you symptoms like if you have a cold or something like that, it possibly could be carbon in your house, and the detector will beep, annoy you, so you can check it out. And just a lot of things that people have problems with. There's other things that contribute to it, and I try to bring those out, at least in the electrical field, that might help.
Yeah, and the carbons, especially the carbon monoxide detector, is especially important if you have a gas log fireplace.
Right.
Because that is like, natural gas is silent, odorless,
Tasteless,
all of the things that you
Yes.
don't really want in a detective type of thing.
Right.
And really the only way, because you're not going to get sick and immediately assume it's carbon monoxide, you're gonna be like, oh, I got a cold. It's November. Everybody gets colds,
Exactly.
right? Or the bug is going around. But like, you could be really, really poisoning yourself.
Yes.
And all it takes is a little detector, and then you're like, oh, I should probably get a handyman out here to throw some soapy water on all my gas lines and make sure we don't have any leaks.
Absolutely. That's what it helps you to do. Just kind of alert you to there might be a problem. And guys are really notorious for ignoring things till their house is on fire.
Yeah.
So, but that will let you know that there's something that probably worth checking out, because it don't hurt you right away. It kind of accumulate and make you sicker and sicker, and eventually, maybe the doctor will tell you there's something else going on. Hopefully, before you get to that point, you'll know.
Yeah. It is one of those things in particular that is overlooked. And I think, to no explanation that I can come up with, electrical in general is overlooked when you're talking about home maintenance. Because there are some things that are more obvious, like, we got to change the furnace filter however many times a year. And, the air intake filter, we got to change that however many times a year. Swap it in, swap it out. Even plumbing stuff, it's like, okay, we have a whole house water filter. We got to change those filters every year. but there's not a lot of like, we got to change something electrical every year. It's very much like it works, don't touch it, and when it breaks, call an electrician. But there's, to me at least, and maybe you can fill in the gaps of my knowledge base, what is electrical maintenance that a homeowner could even do other than just visual inspection?
So, well, if you find, say your lights are flickering or a plug don't work or something, so those are some symptoms that may be something else going on. So usually safety, electrical safety, we kind of take it for granted, like you say. Mostly because of all the changes in the past, you're not going to get shocked.
Yeah.
But when you have a lot of repair people come in, they disconnect things and unfortunately cause some safety hazard. But you can always, most of the time is usually when you buy or sell a house, they do an inspection and there'll be some minor thing on their report saying, oh, this outlet is not properly grounded or something like that. So, and then hopefully you catch it and fix it at that point before it goes too long and maybe somebody get hurt from that. So mostly on inspections, or if you notice something that's not right, flickering light, plug don't work, that kind of stuff.
So short of an inspection when it's a buy-sell situation, and then short of the physical symptom, like you said, outlet doesn't work, lights flickering, is there like, I don't know how to even phrase the question. Like for example, if we're talking about a whole house and its maintenance, like once a year, you could just, as a homeowner, you could walk the exterior of your property and notice peeling paint, notice, you could just like check the window, the door gaskets, things like that. It might not even be broken, but you could just give it a check. And you can, there's a list of things that like you can maintain every year, like the water heater. You're supposed to drain that every year. Or if you have a tankless one, you're supposed to run the cleaning filter cycle through it with a pump and a bucket of water. Is there electrical maintenance for a homeowner, or is it really just waiting until there's a symptom?
So electrical maintenance. So we can inspect. So for a homeowner, there's a very easy tester that can put in an outlet and to see if it's properly grounded. Maintenance. There's not a really, because you have the panel and the wire comes to a plug in a light mostly, or your appliances, something like that. So it's fairly simple. There's nothing, and a lot of things are in the wall, so you can't really look at anything. Or in the crawl space, you can look at the crawl space, but it's not so easy to see. So if you have animals or bugs or something like that, that might create a problem in the crawl space. But if it's kind of old, and especially if it's old enough for you to have different type of wire in there.
Oh, yeah, like metal boxes and like the wax wrapped wires or the paper wrapped wires. Yeah. Like that's, they went away with that.
Yeah, but there's still houses like that.
Oh, yeah.
You really do want to call in an electrician to come and do an inspection, because it's hard for the homeowner. The homeowner can only see what's in front of them for the most part and to tell if there's something wrong. But if you have a house and you have young kids, that kind of stuff, you probably want to get an inspection for an electrician or a house inspector or something like that. And hopefully if they bring things up, then you repair it. But nothing that you can really do to maintain electrical in the house for the most part, not for the homeowner anyway. Yeah.
And as he said, for those listening, that electrical tester, that little orange cube that you just plug into outlets, I don't even know if it's $15. It might be $10 at Home Depot. Just plug it into your outlets. If it's not all green, call somebody. And they can at least take a look, especially if you have an older house. Yes. Now, I know, obviously, there was a moment when stuff just wasn't grounded. So if we go back to an old enough house and you open up an outlet, it won't be grounded. Right. But if a modern house, everything should be grounded, and then all of a sudden something's ungrounded, what's usually the cause? Is it like the grounding wire literally just came loose? Or is there something bigger going on that could cause that?
Of course, this could be any of the above. But the main problem I run into, say if an outlet don't work or the tester saying it's not correct, it usually is because what's legal to do is stick the wire in the back of it instead of stick it around the screw and tighten it. It's legal to do that, but over time they come loose. So if one of the wire comes loose in an outlet, probably away from the one that you're testing, which affects the one that you're testing, that's what caused.
Yeah, because they're like daisy chained together.
They're in series.
Yeah.
And so if there's something that don't work, I would have to look at that whole room and see where the problems start. And a lot of time, almost 90% of the time, is loose connection. And that's the main reason they got away from aluminum wiring, because it heats up and cool down, and it creates a gap in there, and it creates loose connection. And usually loose connection is like arcing, smoke, develop heat, start fire. So that's why they got away from that, because that usually is a big problem with most of the electrical problems that I run into. Anytime lights or plugs don't work, it's generally, it start with loose connection, a matter of where it is and what caused that, and that's what we have to find.
Right. So it's a matter of like playing hide and seek almost, and like detecting like, okay, these 8 outlets in a row are messed up. It's probably the one at the beginning.
Right. Yeah. And we do that. I used to do fire alarm in the DC area for a big company, and whenever there's a problem, usually we have ground fault. You can't have ground fault because it gives you trouble on the fire alarm system. You have to find out, say that circuit serves 2 rooms and it's coming from the left. You go in the middle and you break it and see if the trouble go away or if it's still there. You try to eliminate half and half till you eventually run into where the problem is. But you can find it, and a lot of time it's that simple, but it creates a problem.
Yeah, yeah. It is funny how sometimes it's so small and simple, but then like half a house will just be off.
Yeah. I tell you a story. Was it 2 days ago? This fancy house, they're selling it for 1.7. They're trying to get for $1 million, not 1,000. And we did some low voltage wiring, and the guy said to me that his pendant lights are not working. And he don't trust the electrician or whatever, or they don't have a relationship. So he said, come take a look at it. So I said, I do estimates and whatever. So I took off one switch. It was a 3-way switch. I checked it, make sure the switch is working properly. I said, is there other switches? I went to another one, and it was a 4-way switch. And I checked it, make sure it's running properly. I said, there's a third one, because these 2 switches are right. And if it's not getting power, that means there's most likely a switch problem. So we went around. He said, these switches are not doing anything. This one here is a dimmer switch. It's not doing anything. The dimmer was turned all the way down. Somebody put their hand on it and turned it down. So, of course, I flipped it up. The light worked, and I have to go and put those other 2 switches on. But
there was a switch in my house. I still don't know what it does.
I tell you the problem with that. A lot of times, and the same thing in that house, they run 3 conductor up to the ceiling for a fan and a light separate. So you'll have 2 switches if you want to. A lot of times a fan have a remote control, only need 1 power or one of those wire. So the second wire you don't need. That switch don't do anything. It just control the wire that go to that box that's just not doing anything. So if it's a room that most likely should have a fan, I'll tell them most likely, and I can always verify, one of those switches go up to that fan or that light. If it's only a light, then obviously it's missing the fan. That's what it is. So, and most of the time it's cases like that, hopefully. Sometimes there's other switches that there's just somebody started and didn't finish it. They thought they're going to need another switch.
Yeah, that's what this must have been, because I had 2 electricians. We couldn't figure out what it was for. And eventually I put it in the kitchen island and got rid of the wall that had the switch, and we just cut it out. I was like, I don't know, it's not going anything. Like, nothing's on, nothing's off for years. So I was like, okay, cut it. Like, maybe they were going to put in an attic fan and they didn't.
Right.
But yeah, it was pretty funny. I'd never seen that before. Yeah, I had... my electrician went to one of my tenants' houses. My tenant was like, the breaker won't stay on. It's like staying in the middle, and it's wiggly. And I was like, yeah, breakers break. It happens. My electrician will swap that out. It won't take long. My electrician calls me 5 minutes after he got there, and he's like, your breaker is fine. Your tenant has a lamp with a light bulb in it that is burnt out and like sizzling, and it won't let the breaker go on because it's like a broken lamp. They're that sensitive. And I was like, I'm really sorry you drove out there. I get my tenant on the phone. I was like, buy a new lamp. I don't know what you want me to tell you. The breaker works fine. It was really funny, but you never know. It's so tiny sometimes. And with the technological advances in wire types, breaker types, even installation practices, everything is very sensitive now, which is good because it's all about safety. But in that case, it was like kind of funny. It was like this bulb is burnt out and it won't let the breaker go. Like it, you know.
That's not uncommon. A lot of times, especially if somebody say, "Oh, my outside outlet is not working." You know, I'd say, you know, most likely there's a GFI involved with it.
Oh yeah, there's a reset button.
But they say they looked at the panel. I said, okay, and, you know, I either send somebody out, I'll come out, and if there's not one outside, and if there's not one in the garage, if they don't have a garage, then it's either in the crawl space, and they used to use the bathroom GFI to feed outside.
Oh, really? All on one breaker?
Yeah. So, I mean, the requirements is to make sure the outside is on a GFCI so they can save some money instead of putting in another breaker or another GFCI. They just feed it off the bathroom. They're not supposed to do that anymore. The bathroom's supposed to be for the bathroom. But when you look back into older houses, you have to go through that. And a lot of times we'll find it that way. Is if it just don't work, if there's no power there, most likely that's the reason. Sometimes go to another one, say if the front outlet don't work, you go to the back one, and sometimes the wire is loose where it's not feeding through the front one, or the GFI is someplace other than right outside.
Yeah.
You know,
I had that happen with a different tenant. The house was brand new. They just moved in. They're the first tenants, and they're like, a lot of these outlets don't work. And I'm like, I'm telling you, walk around the house, find the outlet with the button on it, press the button. And they're like, I'm telling you, we looked. None of the outlets have buttons. And I'm like, I'm telling you, that house is brand new. Everything worked 5 seconds ago. Go look again. And if you really can't find anything, I'll be on my way. And like 20 minutes later, I get a text, found it, pressed it, everything works. I'm like, I told you, everything's good. And then the next day they had a leak and I was like, I'm on my way.
Oh boy.
It was just a washer hose, but still, I just like bought a better quality one and swapped it out and everything was fine. But for half a second, because of where the water rolled out from under the washer and was right at the corner of the shower, we were like, the shower pan is leaked. Use the other shower. Like, very, very worried. I got my tile guy out there, and he was like, hey, man, I know I said I'd come fix it, but this is a washer hose thing. This has nothing to do with my shower pan. And I'm like, here's $100 for the drive. My bad. Thanks for showing up immediately. And I ordered a new hose set on Amazon. Just like, it's always something funny. It's always something different.
Oh, yeah.
You mentioned you were doing fire suppression systems in D.C. Is that where you're from?
So I spent 20 years with the company in D.C. Where I'm really from is from Jamaica.
Oh, nice.
So I came here when I was 12. I lived in D.C., in Maryland. I went into service for 4 years. Went to Florida, came back to D.C., and, you know, did my career in electrical in D.C. area.
What service did you go into?
The Army.
Nice. Thank you for your service.
Thank
Appreciate it. So where's the best beef patty in the Triangle?
So there's a few. This is Raleigh. I know there's a Taste of Jamaica in Cary. There's a Negril or something. There's a few other ones, but I go to a bunch of different places. Beef patties, they are all about the same. They're pretty decent. So nothing that I recommend more. You know, the reason I know about the one in Cary because I know the lady. So sometimes if you have a connection with somebody, their food or whatever it is they do is better than everybody else, even though it's probably about the same. You know?
It's probably about the same. Yeah. The most common thing I think of is the curry goat. And I've had more than the average amount of curry goat for a random white dude from New York. But I kind of grew up being raised by a Jamaican couple who were working for my parents. And so I got to, you know, it was always like, what's up, Nonko? And he'd be like, what a guan? Like, you know,
you sound like that.
Everything, Chris style, Chris. Like that was just our like back and forth, and then we'd go back to work. But always just the food always was incredible. I don't know how they got goat so like how they removed the gaminess of goat and made it taste so good. It baffles me. Yeah.
Especially the older person making it. You know, they've been through all of the changes. They've tasted a lot of different people's meat, and they really know how to do it well. So
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you cook a lot yourself?
I do not. I don't do that much cooking. I can cook rice.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's cooking or not. It's like boiling water. I can boil
Pressure
water.
cooker button. Yeah.
So we have a pressure cooker. So my wife, the T. So the T of the T and H. My wife's last name is Tatum. My last name is Harper. So it's
Okay.
Tatum Harper, and I know she spent 37 years working for the Navy.
Oh,
As a
wow.
Navy scientist in DC, one building. And she's not the cooking type, you know. As a scientist, their mind is different.
Yeah, their brain's working on more important stuff. Well, I don't know about more important. Cooking's important, but different important.
Different. So she, you know, we survived more so. Now she's been retired for a little while, so she do more cooking and stuff like that. But you know, she was never one to be in the kitchen, you know, learn all these good ingredients and all that stuff. We do what we need to do to survive. And we'll buy, you know, from a good place if we need to. She have time. She look at best Jamaican food, best Italian food, best restaurants, and that's kind of the way we do our cooking.
Nice.
So, yeah, you know, we make it.
Yeah. Hey, what works for you, man? You know, I like to cook a lot. I also really like to go out. My favorite spot in Durham has got to be Juju. I don't know if you've ever been there. It's Asian tapas. So it's like they take the tapas vibe from Spain of like tiny plates, but it's all over the top delicious Asian food.
Really?
And it's over the top. It's so good. It's beyond. It's like my girlfriend and I are like, okay, it's been 6 months. We've got to just go back. Let's find an excuse.
I do that a lot.
Yeah.
So like when you recommend something like that, you know, guess what I do? In fact, I'm going to ask you to give me the address.
Yeah.
Get a dish, take it home, and see if she like it. Most of the time, when somebody recommend it, it's usually pretty good. So
it's particularly good. I mean, if you really want to go all out for a date night, you have to reserve it the day before. But they do a Peking duck, and it's like, I'm telling you, it's so much food that you don't order anything else off the menu. You're just like, we want the Peking duck. You could go there with like 4 people and just have this dish. It's like, it comes with 8 sides and the whole duck. They like bring it out and then they take it away and carve it and bring it back. And it's just over the top, but it's probably the most delicious food I've ever had.
That's what I'm going to try it.
You should.
And I will tell you if I like it or not, or
let me know.
Especially if I don't like it.
If you don't like it, I want to hear that because you'd be the first one to tell me that. And I'll take a picture of you and be like, this dude can't be trusted because he doesn't like the duck. Yeah. So how long ago did you move here and how long ago did you start your electrical company?
So after the service, you know, when I came out, I spent 4 years, and I'm in the DC area. I met a guy up there, some friends, and they said they were in the electrical business. I said, really? Let me go ahead and give it a try. And they had an apprenticeship in all the programs. So I went in there and I worked for one company the whole time, Dyno Electric. And my wife, I met up there. Her son was in soccer. And, you know, I was helping the organizers of the soccer tournament. And, you know, I was going to get the ball when they kick it out of in the field, and a real important job I had, you know. And she was sitting there supporting her son. So we started talking and all, and eventually we got together. But after a few years, she said she was moving back here is where she's from.
Oh, so she's from the area.
She was born in New Bern. So,
okay.
So she have a brother, and she have her family, father and mother, down here. And they are, you know, women always like to get back closer to their mother and father. So they both passed over the years. But that's what brought us down here. I had a choice, either stay up there, be single, or, you know, get married and move down here. So that's what brought us down here. So at that time, I was working for Dyno Electric for, I think, going on 20 years. I was up there for 20 years or something like that, working electrical. So I came down, I said, you know, I was preparing at that time because I got the Maryland master license if you want to do a company. And I got reciprocity to Virginia. I say, okay, man, I'm ready. So when I come to North Carolina, all I do is get reciprocity because Virginia and North Carolina and have no problem. They said, nope, you can't do it. You got to take the test. So I had to go through the time to take the test again. Eventually, I think it's 2005. And eventually I got the test in '05 and started the business, just me and one person. And, over time I got another guy. So right now, usually I have either 5 or 6 people in the field. Plus there's 2 women that been helping me for a while, do bookkeeping and helping with the monthly taxes and stuff like that. My wife, she support behind the scenes with other things, but she's retired.
Gotcha. So you're at the top. You got like 2 office ladies, and then you have 5 like apprentices or junior. Like I don't know what the term is.
Well, I have 3 that's experienced with service vans, and then I have 2 helpers that they're helping the 3 in some way. Either
whichever one needs it.
Yeah.
That
kind of stuff. Yeah.
So primarily you're doing. It sounds like primarily you're doing more service.
Yes.
Okay.
So mostly service, but of course we do whole house, small house. We haven't really been doing any those developments, 100 houses. We haven't done any of those, but like single family here and there.
The hard part with taking one of those 100 house developments is you're now out of business till you're done. If anybody calls you for a service request, you're like, I could schedule you 8 months from now when I'm done with these 100 houses that are making me rich enough to buy a Corvette. But then you lose all the other clientele unless all of a sudden you can hire 7 more people.
Yeah, that's the challenge with that. And sometime in the past, development stopped. Boom.
Right.
And if the development stopped for whatever reason, what do you do then? Everybody is out of work, and they can't just stay out not working for a week or whatever. They need to work continuously. So, I've been really reluctant. Plus, the margin is really small, of course, because they tell you volume, you're going to get tons of money over time. So you only need $10 off of each house and you'll be fine. So, I've been reluctant to really get into that too much because we've been fortunate enough to stay pretty busy just doing service and doing for the contractors that we work for. We have a few Jonathan
brothers.
Yeah, he's been keeping me busy ever since I've been in BNI, and I work for a pool contractor, which is actually the guy that brought me into BNI.
Oh, okay.
I have a couple of pools. So there's a couple other pool contractors I do work for, and
okay.
We do patios.
So what's the electrical work like for a pool? I guess you got to wire like the pumps and the heater.
Yeah.
Okay.
So and you have the pool, and it usually have 3 lights, and you have the trench and run conduit from those 3 lights over to the pool equipment and get it inspected before they can cover it up. And after that, then they can cover up and do whatever work they need to do around the pool. Usually we have to put a pool panel and then connect all the pool equipment. And then after they do the surface around the pool, now we come into the safety part of it. We got to run a safety grid all the way around the pool and back to the equipment and hit all the metal equipment and hit the panels. So everything is bonded together. If they have like a slide or a rail or anything, that safety grid have to hit that before it comes back.
And then you got to figure out how to get that electric pool panel wired to that main house panel, which there's sheetrock in the way, and who knows what else is in the way.
We don't do sheetrock because we don't do it well.
You're good at cutting holes, not patching them.
Right. So that the first thing we tell them, we're going to have to get access to the panel. Sometimes we're lucky enough for it to be outside, having the breakers outside. If it's in the garage, which a lot of time it is, we have to we cut, the open up below it. That way we can get into it because there's usually a ton of wire there. You can't just try to fish it in any way.
Oh, yeah, because there's 87 wires in your way coming in every direction because the whole house, it's the house nervous system.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we don't have any problems. Sometimes the breakers, limited amount of space, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So I've run into that when I put in, I'm obviously not an electrician, but as a GC, my buddy and I have put in a lot of Tesla chargers.
Let's see.
And
like here.
Yeah, like here, exactly. And more on several occasions we've run into situations where like the panel just has no more room. So we've always gotten lucky enough where either we can see some that can be combined. We take, 2 10s and put in a 20 or a 30 and combine them or something like that and make the space because you need a double slotted 60 amp.
Right.
And then sometimes we really just can't do it. So we have to take some out, put in a big breaker to feed a sub panel, and then put those breakers in the sub panel and then run from the sub panel to the Tesla a charger or just the 4-prong for the other EV. And, it's it's usually just a disappointing conversation with the customer where it's like, we've got to go 6 inches, but this is twice the price because we got to buy a sub panel and 3 extra breakers and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, sorry, we didn't design your electric breaker.
Yeah.
But that's a good lesson for anybody building a new house. Make sure your panel has a lot of space.
Extra space.
It's insane that it would be full when your house is done. Because if you think you're never going to add something, you're out of your mind.
Well, the problem is you have to be careful as a homeowner. If you going after price, the contractor will cut things to meet your price instead of going after what you need. So
Right.
you really need a big enough panel with extra space for growth. If you say, no, I want you to take out a third of the price, they will. But don't say you're going to have all these other things to go with the house. So
yeah, find something else to cut. The space in the panel is not the right space. And also, when you, other things happen when you cut the space. So like when you cut the space, and it's not even a shady electrician, and it's not even against code, but certain things that you want on separate breakers will now be on one breaker. And like I had something happen where the gutter dude was using my outside outlets at a rental property, and he kept tripping the breaker every 4 seconds. Oh, no, sorry. He wasn't tripping the breaker, but the tenants inside were like, every time he turns his saw on, the lights flicker. Because they're on the same thing. And I get the electrician out there, and he's just like, look, man, this is code. You wanted it cheap, and those outlets are not designed for power tool usage. It's designed for like Christmas tree lights. And I was like, okay, fair enough. But then I looked at him and I was like, next house, spend tell me it's $300 more and put this on different breakers. Like I don't want to do that again. I never want to see the lights flickering when I plug in a saw. Like, because I'm the maintenance guy, and if I go there and I have to plug in a saw and the lights flicker, I'm going to forget that you told me that, and I'm going to assume there's a problem. So let's just skip that. And I mean, what's a breaker cost? I mean, what's a 15 amp Eaton breaker cost? $14?
I agree. Yeah.
I'm asking. What is it? What do they run? They're not a lot.
Not a lot, but now you almost can't put breakers in. You got to put ground fault or arc fault breakers in.
That's true. Yeah,
So,
they did change that.
Yeah. So it costs a little bit more, but it's well worth it. You'd rather do that now than later because it costs a lot more later to do anything like that.
That cost is uncalculable because you got to factor in things you can't even see. Like, okay, now there's insulation in the way. We got to throw it away. We got to put in new. There's drywall in the way. Oh, there's paint on that drywall. There's trim against that. There's floor that might get messed up. Is there plumbing in the way? Is there HVAC in the way? I mean, all of a sudden, what could have been extra $500 when the house was just framed is now $3,500, and you're just it was like, damn, I should have just spent $500 one time. So service, you can do some small houses. Do you do any commercial work?
Yes, we do small commercial based on our size. Because I can't take on, like when I was in the DC area, we took on malls.
Right.
I can't.
That's a different
We had
animal.
like 100 guys on one job. You just can't handle anything that size.
But like a small build out in a strip mall, just one unit in a strip mall, you could handle that.
Yeah, we do small restaurants. We've done a couple of smoothies. We've done a little ice cream shop. So we do small commercial buildings.
I hear it's easier. No crawl spaces, all these drop ceilings, metal studs are already cut and drilled. Like you just run that, hook it, you're in and out. No,
it's definitely a lot easier than houses. Houses, there's so many people doing houses. They want to keep the price down, and then it's you have to deal with the crawl space and attic space and all that stuff. And it's just it's easier for sure.
Yeah, I'm designing a house that my subs are going to love to work on because there's no attic or crawl space.
Wow.
So just enjoy.
Well, that's fine when you're building, but when you come back and say, look, I need another circuit from the panel over to the other side of the room. I said, okay, so we have to cut this ceiling, that wall. We got to go around and we got to cut those hallway ceiling and that wall and all that stuff. That's the problem. Additions.
My solution is a drop ceiling.
Okay, well, that would definitely help. I wouldn't be cutting any ceilings
Yeah,
for sure.
I got a massive mechanical room that goes into a drop ceiling that can go to the whole house. That's how I'm designing this.
That's good.
But also, I've sat down with my electrician twice, and I'm like, we got to figure this out now. I don't want to redo it.
Yeah, I mean, you want to take into consideration anything that you might need on the other side of the house.
Yeah.
Like extra power for a car. Now they're actually building an outlet in for cars.
Yeah.
For electric cars. So, you don't have to think about doing it or if you want a car or not.
Yeah.
There's outlets there. You just need a car. And
Yeah,
things like that.
I have it on the plans for sure. And then also on that note, the last rental that we did, we didn't like buy the fancy Tesla charger, but I had my electrician run a 60 amp to whatever the big gauge is to a 4-prong with an exterior box. And I was like, so now any brand, any EV, it's 6 feet from the driveway. So all of a sudden, that's a marketing tool for when we rent it, and it's a huge selling point because the EVs are taking over, especially in this area as, we get, as like technological companies keep coming here and the masses that are moving here are younger and younger and wanting more and more EVs. It's coming for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But I put them in on my electrical plan. I was like, one on each side of the driveway, one on each side of the garage. I'm not messing around.
The other thing about along that line is also generator backup.
Yeah.
Either panel outlet or something like that. You can buy a panel that have an interlock in it, or just add a small generator panel. So when if you lose power, you just got to plug your generator in. And you service 6 to 10 circuits automatically. So that's a nice selling point because we do this, especially when there's an event storm or something like that. Everybody call. I need to come out and take a look about because we might lose power for a couple of days or whatever. Luckily, we haven't been doing too bad in this area.
Yeah, we've been pretty fortunate with that. And I've got to say, I give Duke Energy a lot of shit, but they're pretty Johnny on the spot when lines go down.
Yeah, it don't take very long.
It don't take long. Yeah. The only reason that I'm not doing, I fully support people doing generator hookups. The only reason I'm personally not is because I'm planning for solar and batteries. So I'll be covered. It's just a different direction.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
that's interesting you would say that. So in my 60 seconds, what you have on the BNI day, I talk about battery and why more people, including me, is not taking advantage of the free resource that we have. I mean, I don't know, probably 10 years to make your money back. So, and then you start gaining after that. So it's well worth investing in solar panels and the battery backup. Really, that's good. So that's the biggest obstacle is convincing my wife that it's not a bad idea. Yeah. So I'm working through that right now, but it's almost a no-brainer. You should have that. So you'll have power no matter what else is going on.
Yeah. Yeah. The difference with this house and the future house is I don't have batteries here. So when the power goes down, I'm just dead. But my bill is very, very low for the year because I'm in 1,500 square feet. I have basically everything's electric except for the hot water heater, and I'm running an EV car and a cold plunge that's on 24/7.
What's a cold plunge?
It's a chest freezer that's full of water that you sit in for health, but that's running all day and has a pump and the free, so that's pulling juice. And I think my bill at its highest is like $100 a month. Yeah. And I drive that car a lot. If I don't need material, because I keep a small tool bag in there. So depending on the job, I'll be like, oh, I don't need a big chop saw and a truck. I'll be there with my drill in 20 seconds.
That's the thing. A lot of people, even I used to drive a bigger truck, and I just have tons of stuff in there, which I never use. Now I just have a little short ladder, which I never use, and some tools, which I might need to test something or something like that. But for certain people really don't need as much as they carry around with them as far as vehicle and tools. Yeah. So I'm really I'm waiting for my SUV to die a little bit more before I, can justify getting an EV for sure. Yeah.
So you would get a work EV.
So right now I would get one for me because if I get one for the guys, then I need to worry about them hook up at their house too, which is not a big problem. Then we have to look into that. Plus, they don't have any available. They don't have what I use right now is small. I have white, but small vans.
Okay.
And there's really no electric vehicle. There's one guy that comes from Fayetteville. I mean, he's probably my best guy, and he drive a lot. So I would need something that can get him to wherever
Yeah,
we go and get him back.
it's coming, but it's not there yet.
Yeah.
You need the Rivian van that doesn't exist yet.
Yeah.
That they're making for I've started to see them online, not in person, but they're making them for Amazon, and they'd be like exactly what you need, but they're not available to the public yet.
Yeah, that would be nice if we can get rid of all these vans and get 3 of those and get the hookup at their house. So I'm not sure how much mile. It probably need to be at least 200 miles. Sometimes they go a little further. So if that's the case,
oh yeah, I mean, my car gets like 300.
Oh yeah,
yeah, and they get more and more. They get better and better every year. It seems like.
Oh, yeah.
I've got a reservation for the Cybertruck, which is like Tesla's.
Really?
Super ugly stainless steel electric pickup truck. I think it's something out of like a futuristic space movie, and I can't wait to own it. But everyone else I talk to is like, it's literally the ugliest thing on 4 wheels. I'm like, you're gonna change your mind when you sit in it. Yeah, but I can't wait to get rid of my gas truck because I'm definitely not coming from Fayetteville like your guy. I service the whole triangle, but it takes an hour to get somewhere because of traffic. In reality, it's like I drove 20 miles and it's got a 300-mile range, and there are chargers at my house and everywhere. If you're in the Tesla brand, if you're doing the other brands, the chargers are not as convenient. But the Tesla charging network is everywhere. It's everywhere. Oh, yes. I mean, I see 10 of them at the Cary, Harris Teeter, downtown Durham. They're, the Raleigh Mall. They're everywhere. I see them. I drive my Tesla up to New York with no problems. Yeah, I even charge outside of DC. They're right on the side of the highway. It's very convenient. You put in a lot of Tesla chargers?
I've put in my share. In fact, I have an estimate out now for, I think, the brother of one of the guy in the BNI. Luckily, he don't drive very far, and he plugged it into the wall outlet. So I was going to put a 50 or 60 amp in there for him. So, I'm waiting on that. But I've done quite a few of the different types of EVs. Yeah,
you can do if you have the 60 amp wall outlet, you can get the same juice. You don't actually need the cool Tesla charger. Instead of buying that thing that looks super cool with its cord built in, you could buy a $25 adapter to the cord that they give you, and then just plug it into that RV 4-prong. And as long as you got 60 amps, you're still going to get, I think it's 38 or 40 miles an hour recharge. So it'll charge the whole car before you wake up. It's pretty convenient.
He have that right now. He have an adapter for a larger one.
Yeah.
Have the one for 120 and then one for 50 or 60 amps. So he's ready to go.
I did that at first, and then where you see that charger just in the same spot one day, I was like, this looks ugly. I want it to look better. My buddy came over. We just ripped it all out. We kept the wire, and we just wired it to the Tesla thing. I was like, cool. That looks way better. And then that Tesla sign I definitely stole one day from a charging station.
Oh, wow.
I can't even lie. I was at a mall, and there were 8 chargers and these 8 little red signs that were parking for Tesla charging only. And it was just on there with 2 screws, and I couldn't resist. I just got out my impact driver and went reverse. I took that home. I was like, that's going on my wall. So Tesla, I'm sorry, but
they appreciate you buying a car.
We bought enough cars. My parents bought one. I bought one. My friend Ernie bought one. My friend Kristen bought one. I think I earned it. If you tell them,
they'll probably send you some signs free.
They should.
Oh,
man.
Yeah. Because you're promoting their brand. Plus, you talk very highly of them because they do. They do a really nice car.
I can't even shit on them. I've tried sometimes, and I can't. Yeah, all the things that at first you're like, that's just, you're doing something just to do something, and then after a while you're like, this actually does just make more sense. I've just been used to cars have been built a certain way for, if you're me, my whole life, and then Tesla came on the moon and was like, we're shaking it up. We don't need dealerships.
They surely did.
Yeah, and Elon Musk is insane, but he figured it out. So
he got a heck of a system going for sure.
He does have a heck of a system. Yeah, it is interesting for sure. I will say the Raleigh service department is not as together as the rest of their company.
Mm-hmm.
They need like a second service center in Raleigh because
really?
it's just like 6 months out to get anything
Really?
taken care of. Yeah,
Mm.
I follow a couple like Tesla Facebook forums or whatever, and I have a bunch of people who are like, yeah, Raleigh's so annoying. I drive to Henderson to get my stuff serviced. And I'm like, that's 2 hours away. And they're like, yeah, but I'm in and out in 11 seconds.
Really?
And like 2 hours each way or wait 6 months. Like, I want my AC fixed. And I'm
Very
like,
simple.
yeah, well, I get it. That does make sense. Yeah. So if anybody in the Triangle needed you for your electrical services, what would be the easiest way to find you?
Well, either we have a website, you can thelectricalservices.com, or you can email us at schedule@th-electrical.com, or
You said TH dash?
yeah,
Okay.
-electrical.com, or phone number is 919-606-3644. That number haven't changed from ever since we started.
Nice.
So but it should be, as long as you remember TH Electrical Service. There is another T&H Electrical in the area. They do outside, they do a lot of stuff, but they do outside signs and stuff like that. But if you look up TH Electrical Services, you should be able to find us.
Okay. Awesome. And that's for residential, some light commercial, pools, it sounds like you can handle.
Yes.
All that EV stuff.
Yes.
And primarily and especially, though, is service calls.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right now we're kind of built to do services, in a pretty reasonable rate and
Yeah.
time. So
That's very important and should be restated again, because you can get any electrician out there in 6 months
yeah.
for twice what it should cost. But somebody who can actually just do it reasonably and can schedule you within a week, I mean, that is important.
Yes.
Yeah, and it matters for sure. Yeah. Well, I really appreciate you coming on. This was a lot of fun. For my loyal listeners, please like and subscribe. Check out the Orange Hammer podcast and CRS Contracting on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Emails Corb@WSDG, cell phone 845-489-6057. Let me know if you want to come on the podcast or have me talk about something specific, or just call and tell me I'm doing a great job. All of it works. And I don't know when this will come out, but we're going to say enjoy your Thanksgiving, because
Yes.
that's tomorrow.
Yes.
But
it's
this will
here.
come out 20 weeks later. Yeah. Awesome. Well, Carl, I really appreciate you coming, man. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me. Really enjoyed it.
Awesome. Thanks so much again. And bye, everybody.